Hi guys, how are you today? I'm outside shooting this video. It is bright, it is sunny, and it's breezy, but it's all good. Anyway, I'm sharing with you today my big chop story. How did it all begin? First off, I have a question for you. Have you ever noticed that for a lot of our styling, that it employs a lot of covering up? We either cover it up with a relaxer, we cover it up with a chemical, we cover it up with braids, and I'm talking about, braids, extensions, we cover it up with weave, we cover it up with something. We are always striving, always is too strong of a word. We aim a lot to hide the texture, conceal the texture, camouflage the texture. Anyway, this is how my story started. All right, so I ran into some problems. My scalp was bothering me. I was relaxing too much at one point, and I went to the dermatologist, and he told me that I need to stop relaxing. So my attitude towards that was okay, and he was just frankly honest. He had his own products he was trying to sell. Back then it was like, oh, stay away from petroleum, and that was the in thing back then. Mind you, this is 14 plus years ago. All right, so he's saying to me, stop relaxing. Relaxing is no good, and do not use no lie products, because no lie is worse in the sense that it even dries out your hair more. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, so he froze a section of my scalp because he wanted to see if I can still produce hair, grow hair. And I came back 2 weeks later and there was hair there, and he was like, okay, well then that's fine. So he was pushing his products and stuff. I didn't buy any because I saw they were loaded with petroleum. That's why it is good always to do your due diligence, to do your research on your own, so that when you go to the professionals and the non-professionals and you get information from some other folks, you can at least compare and see what resonates with you and proceed from there. All right, so I said to myself, okay, well then I'll just stop relaxing. I will weave, I will braid, I will put something in my hair, since I can't relax anymore. I really can't say can't, because some people get this diagnosis and they still relax anyway because they just can't give it up. So I proceeded to keep doing what I was doing. I was braiding, I was weaving, I was physically camouflaging my hair. So one day I took my hair down, and when I say took my hair down, meaning took out the braids or the weave at the time, and I had my hair out. And I had to run to the store, and I realized I could not leave unless I had on a head tie. The covering up was such a strong addiction that I couldn't even run outside to the store because I felt that it was not presentable. As I stared in the mirror, I realized that I had a sickness. This is no joke. I had an addiction. I had an addiction to the cover-up. So what I said to myself was, hey, this is a sickness. So you mean to tell me you can't leave the house unless your hair's covered? Usually I would take down my hair and then re-braid it back up, re-weave it back up. That's within 24 hours. One day I'd take out the braids, I'd wash my hair, and then after I washed and dried it, I'd proceed to braid it again or weave it. And this is old school weaving of braiding and sewing in the tracks, not the glue and stuff like that. That wasn't my cup of tea. I realized at that moment that something had to be done, and I did not like the feeling that I had within me of, you mean to tell me that this is what it's come to? So I was married at the time, walked in, and I said to my husband, I said, hey, I gotta cut my hair. I had this urge. When I tell you I had this urge, it was a strong, overwhelming urge that I had to ride. I said, if I don't do it now, I'm not gonna do it. So he just looked at me and was like, oh, okay. So I went to the beauty supply and I bought a pair of clippers. And I went into the bathroom and I just cut it off. When I cut it off, I had the teeny weeny fro, about like that. And I just stared at myself, but I just felt relief. I just felt relief because I was like, okay, Then I started looking at it and I was like, I don't like this look too much. You got to do something. And then I got this urge, cut it lower. So then I believe at the time I was using a guard that was 1/16 of an inch. Either 1/16, and I shaved it down lower and I brushed it flat. And to be honest, a lot of, my husband liked the lower cut than the teeny weeny fro. It's something about that teeny weeny fro. For some people, they look feminine. For me, I looked very masculine. It was better for me to cut the hair down low and brush it flat. Now, some people will argue and say, okay, well, you brush the hair flat. It's still kind of camouflaging the texture, so to speak, because now it's straight enough to lie down flat. At that time, it was taboo. Back then, it was considered, if you cut your hair that low, that, your sexuality, your sexual orientation was questionable. That's just how to behave back then. Also, for me, I realized that it didn't matter at this point, because it was like, okay, you're dark, your hair is kinky coily, and you have the nerve to have no hair on your head. That is the ultimate taboo. That is a strike out of the beauty handbook, especially for a woman of color. That's mochalicious. And I just had to cut it off. I figured if I didn't have any hair to put any weave, because I wasn't gluing, so that was out. So the hair was too low to braid. The hair was so low, I wasn't studying putting in any glue. And if I did put glue and weave, what was going to cover the tracks? Nothing. I wore that hairstyle for like 5 years, because every time I got the urge or the thought, if I grew out my hair, I was tempted to put something in it, I was like, you need to sit down here with your hair just like this. That was a period of time where I had to learn to embrace me, that I wasn't my hair. Hair is a big thing. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. They'll say, oh, it's just hair. Oh, no, it's not. It is not just hair. Your hair, certain people have religious rituals tied to their hair. And as a show of not being vain and willing to give up their beauty for spirituality, they'll shave their hair. Some people grow their hair really long because it makes a statement that they're natural, or they're at one with nature, or one with the creator. Hair has a big reference point, especially for women. What about the monks? Why are their heads shaved? Hair is a big deal. Yes, we give it the definition, but it still matters. It don't matter what anybody says. It matters. It mattered enough for me that I had to go through that stage. Now, did everybody approve of it? Well, no. When I would go out with my husband and we would go out on double dates and stuff with friends, some of his friends looked at him like, yo, you let your wife go out the house like that? I had some girlfriends who would say to me at the time, hey, let me just put a little bit of relaxer in it. Let me just leave it in for 5 minutes just to comb through it, just to loosen up the coils. Other people told me, oh my gosh, this is a breath of fresh air. I'm really seeing you. Was the journey worth it? Everybody's called to do different things. Some people are called to shave their heads. Some people are called to grow out their hair in increments and slowly cut off a relaxer. Some people are called to take out their braids and they already are loose natural. I already was a loose natural. I had a nice afro, but at that time, it was my interpretation of the afro that was quote unquote diseased. It was the addiction or the lull or the pull towards using somebody else's DNA in order to sanctify or to anoint my beauty. I had to let it go. So when I look back, I distinctly feel what I felt when I look at these pictures. I had just had my son, and these are the only pictures that I have lying around, because I wasn't one to take a whole bunch of snapshots or pictures. But I tell you this much, I still felt good in my skin. Was it all sewn up? Was it all figured out for me? No, it wasn't. I just knew that I had to honor the feeling of, I have to let this go. And if it means that I have to physically do something to myself, I just had to do it. Anyway, letting you all know that whatever journey that you take, it's not just a physical journey of skill or a physical journey of doing things or being busy. I hear a lot of wrestling. It is a emotional journey also along with it being a physical journey. Trust your beauty and own it. Peace.